Well, hi, everybody. I just want to welcome you back to the blog this week. And I'm happy to introduce you today to a new friend of mine that I met online when I gave out a call on Facebook for authors to share about their books. And I connected with Joy. I want to introduce you to Joy Harding. Hi, Joy.
Hi,
Hi, welcome from Minnesota, right?
that's right.
Right. Well, glad to have you
Mm,
this week. And I just want to turn it over to you and let you get us started with introducing yourself and just telling us all a little bit about you and your family.
Okay. Well, my name is Joy Harding, and I am a first-time author, and I am just very excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'm in my low 60s in terms of age and am married. My husband and I have been married together for almost 38 years, and we dated for almost 7 years before that. We were in
Mm.
school, and so we've been together a long time. We weren't
Yes.
able to have children, but we have
Mm.
many nieces and nephews. And now we have a total of three great nieces and nephews, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
It's so fun to have babies in the family again, and
Hmm. Hmm.
um, because I am a great auntie, my mother just became a great grandmother for the first time last year.
Hmm.
So it's been a very
Nice.
exciting and fun time in our lives.
Great. Yeah. Well, we have a few things in common. I've been married also for 40 years, and my husband and I dated in high school. We dated
Oh my
for
goodness.
about 5 years.
So we both share that long courtship and long marriage. I
Hmm.
still say that my husband is my best friend. And I think
Hmm.
in some respects, we were friends before we started dating. And I think that that foundation, along with the third strand in our marriage of God, has really helped us through some of the hard times.
Oh, absolutely. God at the center.
Yes, absolutely. And I truly cannot imagine a lifelong marriage without that core. And that
Absolutely.
actually is part of, I bring that out in my first book just because I think it is so important. And then we have
Hmm.
one fur child. We have a 15-year-old kitty named Dodger, who is a gray and white tuxedo, and he's very handsome. He's a very,
Oh, well,
and he
maybe
knows.
we'll see him. Well, maybe we'll
Yeah,
see him walk by in
he
the
might
video.
walk by, might jump up on the desk. He might walk behind me, but um, we've been struggling. He has developed hyperthyroidism, and so he is
Hmm.
also a very hungry kitty all the time.
Oh,
So
goodness.
we've had to um, protect our dinners when we're eating not at the table. But
Oh, my
um,
goodness.
and he does, when I write, he likes to sit right here, right in front of me on my desk, between me and the keyboard. And so we're
Oh,
having
man.
discussions about that too. But
Yeah. So
that
you
is
have a co-writer.
not, yes, exactly. Only sometimes it's not so good. And so that is my nuclear family. My mother,
Hmm.
who's in her 90s, is still alive and can still
Hmm.
outshot me if we go out together. And Dan's parents are both still alive,
Yeah.
and
What a blessing.
it is a blessing. Losing my dad was probably the hardest thing I've done in my life so far.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but his folks are doing well. We are moving them down to be closer to us. They live in Duluth right now, and
Hmm.
most of their children live down here. So we've talked with them very seriously last year, and they are moving this month. So they will be down closer to us, and we're very excited
That's
about
nice.
that.
Nice.
So yeah, that's my
Well,
family. Dan is an architect, and I guess that's about it.
what about hobbies? Do you have anything outside of writing that you do for fun?
Oh, I love to read. I love to read since
Mm.
I before kindergarten. So I mean,
Yes.
it has been a lifelong, and I think that's what led to me writing, was
Hmm.
that I love to read so much, and yet I had some stories that had never been told in my mind, and that's what I wanted to do. So I wrote as a hobby for a very long time. And then I also do needlework. I am a hand needlework person. So I do cross stitch and I do um, needlepoint. And I actually am taking lessons in an ethnic embroidery, Japanese embroidery, which is the
Mm,
traditional kimono embroidery that's done with silk, very fine silk thread on silk background. And
wow.
so those are things that I love to do that are kind of apart. I am I'm a lawyer by trade, but I have some health issues, and so I mostly am retired. I am a homemaker, and then I am a writer. So that's
So
things I
you
love.
loved reading as a child and then you became a lawyer. Is that what you wanted to do growing up when
No,
you, no?
that was a choice made later in life. What I wanted to do growing up, from the very first times I can remember having a actual vocation in mind, I wanted to be a physician. I wanted
Mm,
to be a doctor so badly. And my undergraduate in school is a degree in biochemistry with a minor in business, but my talents didn't lie there. I my
mm,
my gift for the hard sciences is more an interest than an ability. And I didn't do terribly in school, but I certainly didn't do medical school well. And it's still though something that I I follow medicine, um, and I read about it a lot, and it's still something that fires a passionate interest in me.
mm.
And
Nice.
that's why the protagonist in my first book, one of them is a physician. And all of the research I did for him and for some of the things that go on in their lives was a pure joy to me because I got to do research on current medical trends, and that was
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah. So, how long ago did your first book come out?
First book came out at the end of August, and that
Okay.
was it's called Boundary Waters Search and Rescue Beyond Belief. And this is part of a 3-book story arc that basically completes the story, but all 3 books can also stand on their own. And the first one is the one that is out, and that's Beyond Belief. And then the second one should be out within the month, and that is Boundary Waters Search and Rescue Beyond Imagination. So all of them will have that same introductory line, and then they will have different subtitles.
Hmm. So, tell us a little bit about the first book that's out, a little bit about the theme or the storyline, the characters. Maybe talk a little bit about which characters were the easiest for you to write, which ones were the most challenging. Let's talk about your book for a little bit.
Okay, well, that's one of the subjects that I love to talk about. The book,
Yes.
if you were to separate it into genres, it's a Christian fiction book. It's a romance, but it's also an adventure. And this is something that will follow, the book series is something that will follow this particular family through the years ahead. Um, the protagonists are both in their early 50s. They are both alone when the book opens, both of them having been widowed, or widowed. Jack is a widower, but having been widowed sometime before. Um, and the book opens with Jack, and he is in Ely, Minnesota, which is a place that is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in northern Minnesota, so this is something that was really special to me to be able to use this place that I love so much. And he is a physician, Jack is, in search and rescue. And they work primarily in the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, this rescue team. And he ends up having a rescue on a very snowy morning in his own front yard. And he finds Liz, who has is unconscious and is pretty much dying of exposure when he finds her. And so the book goes on from there. There is, in my mind anyway, a very bad guy. And we learn the story about the connection between Liz and this man. And if you talk about which characters were the hardest to write, that man was the hardest to write. I like writing happy things. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of happy endings. I'm a fan. So writing Jack and Liz was a lot of fun. You know, Liz is a worker by trade. She is an artist who is represented by galleries up there. Jack is a physician by trade. So writing those two characters was and is a lot of fun. But writing Edward Reynoso, who is the bad guy, is and was really difficult. In fact, it was so difficult that I had a very limited window to write in. And then I had to get up and walk away or go write about somebody else, because writing someone who at their core is so evil and I guess so amoral that he just sees nothing wrong with what he does to others was really hard. And particularly as I wrote the ending to the book, it was really hard because things get quite bad before they get better. And
Yes.
that was really difficult for me. It still is difficult, but the first book was the most intense of the three.
Well, on a lighter note, have any of your pets made their way into the stories?
We had, prior to adopting Dodger, I'm just looking down because he was there. Prior to adopting him, we had a 17-year-old black female kitty named Sierra. And she was we adopted her at 7, so we had her for 10 years. And she died very suddenly last August of sudden onset kidney failure.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. It was really difficult. And so you'll see Sierra under an assumed name in Boundary Waters Search and Rescue Beyond Belief. Jack has a black cat named Binks, who has many of the characteristics of Sierra. And Liz has a Maine Coon mix named Sierra. So I got both Sierra's name and her personality in 2 different cats. But both of these two, Jack and Liz, are cat lovers. So that's how they start. And yes, I work my pets into them.
Good for you.
Yes.
But I think most readers enjoy having pets in the story. It adds another dimension.
You know, that's funny you say that, because my mom didn't like the cats. She said, get rid of it. She's not a cat fan, and I think if they had been dogs, it would have been fine. But she's like, you know, the cats serve no purpose. And I'm like, wait a second, they're part of this family. So I thought that was
well,
funny.
I'm not a huge animal lover. I don't have any pets. I did growing up, but I still enjoy reading about animals in books.
Good.
So I think even people who are not huge animal lovers can still enjoy a good, story with a pet. So I know as a writer, it takes months. Well, usually for people, it takes months to get your story on paper and edit it and get it polished and ready to put out there. It can be an agonizing thing, spending all that time. And so you spend a lot of time with God, praying and asking God to guide you and, writing that story. So spending that time with God on that first book, we'll talk about that one. What did God teach you while writing that book?
Oh my. This book was very unusual in that I woke up one morning in January 2020 with the entire storyline in my head. I could not type fast enough. But what that gave me is, okay, I've got this chunk of words, but I don't have anything resembling a book. I've just got a lot of notes. And so then I decided, well, I was going to try and flesh it out. And I was only going to do that for me. I mean, I was going to do what I could do with it, put it in a spiral binding and put it on my shelf. I, at that point, had no thought of publishing. And I prayed about it and I wrote and I prayed about it and I wrote. And it was just, like I said, more of a hobby thing. And then a friend of mine who is a professional author or professional editor with 28 years of experience said, I'd like to read it. And boy, that was hard.
Yeah.
Giving my baby up to somebody. But I sent it to her and I got it back covered in blue ink. I mean, it was just, wasn't really blue ink. It was blue ink on the computer, but it was, and I thought, okay, well, this answers any question I might have had about pursuing publication. And then I got an email from her and she said, this is really good. You should publish this. And she said, I know that's much easier said than done, but this is really good. She said, your mistakes, they're easily correctable. She's a big fan of the Oxford comma and I wasn't. So, I mean, that was a lot of the blue ink right there. And so I prayed again and I said, well, I want to maintain legal control over these characters. So I need to be aware when looking for publishers of that requirement. And I just completely lost my train of thought. Give me just a second.
You're fine. You're fine. I was just going to say what God was teaching you through that.
Yeah.
Through that experience.
It was just like, okay, I'll move on to the next step. And the next step, there's a company out there that will not publish, but will put up a book listing for you. They're a website that apparently publishers and agents go to. And they will put up a short synopsis. They will put up a 3,000 word sample and just some information about the book or the manuscript. And I tried that because the cost wasn't too bad. And I somehow got connected with a bunch of different publishing options. Everything from, I actually had one agent contact me, but the people she worked with would take legal control of my work if I was offered something from them. And then there were what they call vanity publishers, which offered to publish my book if I was willing to part with 10 grand. And that was something I couldn't do or didn't want to do. But I got connected with someone at Covenant Publishing, which is a small hybrid publisher, Christian. And they do vet their manuscripts. And so I sent it to them. And lo and behold, a year later, I had a published book. And that was something that was so God. I mean, I had no intention for this, but I kept praying about it. And certainly through the editing process, I kept wondering, is this something I should be doing? Can I present this with enough excellence to honor God in it? And because I'm not a writer by trade, that isn't something that I've done except as a hobby in my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned so much. And that whole process, I mean, everything in it, including the timing, when you get these inevitable delays and you think, oh God, this was supposed to be done now. And God says, I've got this, and it is one of the more remarkable things that I've ever been through in a fairly long life. I have never, ever seen answer to prayers, very specific answers to prayers like I did through this experience.
Yeah, and he definitely does things differently than we expect, right?
Yes, he does. And when
Yeah,
there
so
was a section of the book that it came down to, do I put this in? Do I not put this in? I found that he was very reliable. If I just gave up my own, I want to put this in because I want to put this in.
mhm,
And if I just gave that up and let it rest for a little while, I never ever had a problem. It was only when I
mhm,
put things in that shouldn't have been in there that I had problems.
yeah, yeah. So it's definitely depending on him every step of the way. He's really the author, and we're writing alongside him,
That's exactly right.
trying to put down on the page what he wants to go out there to people.
And I'm
Well, you
still,
mentioned you have the second book. The
yes,
second book is coming?
second book is coming. It is in my hot little hands. I have the proof copies. So that if it's like the last time around with this, I would imagine it will be out within the month. Available through Ingram Spark and uh, available on all the major online in paperback, hardcover, and digital. I hope to do
Okay.
audiobooks. I just need to budget for that.
Right, right. Well, I'm happy and excited to meet you today and get to know a little bit about you and your writing and your books. And we're hopefully going to help people learn about you and get the word out there. So I'm asking people who are watching this to share this interview on your social media and to get it out there so that Joy can have the most readers possible so that God can be glorified and the message can go out to people whose lives can be touched by a fiction story. That's what this blog is all about, is sharing hope-filled fiction that can help change lives.
Yes.
So thank you, Joy, for coming on today and sharing a little bit of yourself with us and telling us about your stories. They sound very interesting, and I just pray that God will bless you in your future endeavors as you seek to glorify Him through this.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I am
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
delighted to have been here, and I will be praying for you and your endeavors. And I just look forward to a wonderful friendship.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
I
Bye-bye.
will talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.